I don't know. It was a fishing trip, but it was a vacation. It's just kind of hard to put it in a single box.
Look at me.
Too much to sum up, right? Like what we experienced in 3 days it can't be defined into one thing.
Hell yeah.
And I thought was
You got to get after it yourselves.
I love you guys.
Because once we got down into that valley, met up with Ryan, got settled into BUDGE'S, you know, we were able to hit the water that first day, and we didn't see anyone, right, Delaney?
No, I mean, the 3 days we were there, we didn't see a single person. You know, we saw more moose and bear than we saw people, which was great.
Sometimes you lose track, you know, you live in a beautiful state like Colorado, but you just think in your head, you know, everything here is established, there's people everywhere, and then you go up there and it just really embodies wilderness, and it's pure, and there's no people around, and it's just amazing to think that in a half-day drive from Denver that you can find that.
You're really tucked back in that valley and secluded away from everybody, which is nice when, you know, you live in the Denver area and you just want to be away.
Right, and it's a whole different world down there. It's almost like its own little bubble. You drop down into this valley and, you know, the lodge was there, and there's the river, and no people around, aspens are turning yellow. It's its own little beautiful spot. And you know, like any off-road trip, the best vehicle to get you there is not yours, so yeah. Thank you, Delaney.
It wasn't rough road, definitely high clearance was nice, but wasn't too crazy getting down in there.
We're coming off this long drive, a couple of stops, and what's the first thing that's crossing your mind when you finally see that lodge come into play?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Let's get after it. You know, like we're here. Let's, you know, we're up here for a reason, so let's experience it.
It's hardcore, dude.
Yeah. I would reckon that was cool.
Sounds funny, but you don't really even have to read the water. Like there was so many times where like I was just getting some line out or something, and I would just, you know, whip it over there and middle of the river, not even in a run or anything, and then there's, you know, another aggressive brook trout. These fish have no reservations on, is that a bug, is that a fly? They just see it and they hammer it. So it's really just exactly what you would want in dry fly fishing.
Yeah, I mean, dry dropper was definitely the way to go. Trying to tuck them up right up on the bank in that and the riffles, and trying to get that tungsten fly down to those fish that, you know, may not have been coming up for the dries.
Really wanted to fish some, you know, different hoppers that I hadn't fished before, and every one of them worked, man. It was just a magical place up there as far as fish go. It's consistent. Every run, every day, every stretch of water is just holding so many fish up there. It's crazy.
You have another one?
Yeah. And the amount of miles that we can fish, I mean, it's ridiculous. I think they say there's roughly 100 miles of fishable streams in the wilderness area alone. It's just incredible.
Yeah, it is incredible, man, and especially when you're throwing horseback into the, you know, the equation there. You have the ability to cover so much land and just really get out to where there's nothing. When Ryan took us out on those horses, it really felt like we were fishing somewhere that, you know, maybe only a handful of people have ever fished before.
Come on now, come on now.
Like Delaney, you're a lot like me as far as we really didn't have much horseback riding experience at all. So when we're walking up to that stable and you're seeing those horses sitting out there waiting for us, what's your first thought on that?
First thought is that horse is big.
Yeah, yeah, same.
But they taught us the ropes and showed us how to handle them, and it was a pretty easygoing process to be on a horse for the first time like that.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same. I feel like the wranglers did just a great job of like, hey, this is what you're gonna do. These are the things you don't do. Other than that, you'll be fine. And it really was fine, and it was just a hell of an experience.
You're so pretty. Hello.
Did anyone else like all the little pull-offs we did on the way up?
Oh, I mean that's
I'd
what
say
makes the trip.
that
man.
could be like my favorite part.
Oh.
I mean,
Daryl was smart for the fantasy league. He would have put all the tall people in one and all the short people in one, and it would have called Division 1 English Tall, and the other one would be English Small. I hit the sun. Turds everywhere.
Some dookies.
Sorry, Ryan, we can't fish, man, with our arms out, shoulders blown, hucking rocks off the side of the road.
Yeah, I think that's the big part. It's just the camaraderie, man.
I got you, Jeff.
Oh yeah, that's a chuck right there. That's a chuck roast.
Maybe we should, when we were talking about that moose encounter, I think that's when my mic wasn't on. So if you want to redo it, because that's kind of a funny story.
There's 2 of them. Be careful, Jeff, there's a second one.
So I'm in the cabin early morning going through some gear, and Delaney's standing by the window, and just as nonchalant as you could say it, Delaney looks at me and goes, "Hey man, there's a really big moose outside of this window." So I walk over there, and sure enough, man, big old bull right outside the cabin. One of the coolest encounters I've ever had. I mean, I don't know about you, but I've always kind of like DIY'd all my fishing stuff. So there's something to be said about being on the river and heading back and knowing that, you know, there's cold beer and a hot meal waiting for you. And you don't really have to do any of that stuff yourself that night.
Yeah, that was my favorite part. You know, you're in a room with 10 or 12 completely different people you haven't met before, and to share the stories of my experience in the country versus theirs was pretty cool.
I mean, I think it's just you're forced to connect with real people and good people and just joking around and everybody having a good time, and before you know it, it's 4 hours later after dinner.
You do the Brotherhood pros?
Do it. Go for it. I'm right.
Come on, let's go. Brotherhood pros. You gotta do it. It's the power pose.
Pretty just weird trip for me in general, first time leaving the kid at home. Nice thing about the lodge is you kind of get the best of both worlds, man. You get to step out, do, you know, the off-the-grid thing, no cell service while you're fishing, and then you have some Wi-Fi at home at the end of the night to check in, make sure everything's good.
It's kind of like a build your own vacation spot, BUDGE'S is to me.
You can take the horses out, or you don't even have to. You can just fish right there at the lodge or walk as far up as you really feel like you can go.
Yeah, and time-wise too, I think it's, you know, you can go out in the morning or the afternoon. I mean, the river runs right in front of the lodge, so you can go out, catch 20 fish in an hour or two, and if you want to call it that and go back and relax, you can do that. If you want to go out and catch 500 fish, that's the place for it too.
Miles and miles and miles of river access that I could have gone off to, and hanging back with the 2 guys was part of that experience. But absolutely, I could have just gone off, and I have miles of public access that nobody's touched before.
So it really just kind of speaks to all different types of anglers there, whether they want to relax or just really get after it.
Woo-hoo! Missed that one.